16 manga enter, only 5 will survive. I've been given the great honor of working with Kodansha and Weekly Young Magazine, known for manga such as Akira, Initial D, The Fable, GTO, and a wide range of some of my other favorite series ever, in order to bring to you the opportunity to vote for 5 out of 16 debuting manga, deciding which ones get serialized. There are 20 titles, 18 have never been released, and 16 are open for voting. Usually this is left to the reception of the Japanese readers, but now we get to decide what continues in the 4 medium platforms managed by the Young Magazine editorial team and their online service K-Manga. Before continuing, a serious thank you to Kodansha, Weekly Young Magazine, and of course, all of you for allowing the channel to reach this point. I'll be giving each series one by one before the 5 I plan on voting for at the end of the video. Still, it is important to keep in mind that you should check out these and formulate your own opinion on these before voting. A group of samurai receive a letter from a village that is being attacked. The group has some eccentric personalities, and at the center is their captain that prays to himself. 4 people that don't fear death on a mission to kill Tengu. They are GOUMA. First thing that needs to be said is, holy! This art's incredible. Everything from the expression of the characters to the Tengu itself. Through and through, I am a big fan of the art. The action in the first chapter was also solid, and I'm excited to see where the story ends up going with the characters, in particular the captain. While not the biggest deal, I would have appreciated knowing the names of these characters, but I can see the goal being to introduce and establish the importance of them as a group. I like this one a lot, and there's so much room to take this story in any direction, which is dope. A tense, dark fantasy. In a town, a lady known as a witch gives up parts of her body to sustain the place, replacing the one that came before her, and it seems soon she will be replaced by a little girl. Refusing to allow history to repeat itself, she defends the village from a bear, choosing to take the girl away and wander the world. Zola, known as the witch, is a very strong character in terms of writing for the first chapter, and I'm curious in which way her and the little girl will grow and change. I can see this ending up with a heart-wrenching finale, or having a moment halfway where the torch is passed. Perhaps I'm leaning too much into the dark fantasy setting, but this was solid for a first chapter. Police reports have stated multiple people gone missing. Students are advised to be careful when going home. Jun and Makoto, followed by Makoto's dog Taro, encounter a strange door. At first I was worried they would just walk through this thing and break my suspension of disbelief, but thankfully that wasn't the case. Instead, the door opens, a giant hand pulls them in. On the other side is the most messed up, awesome looking place. At this point, I was hooked. Then the 3 are crucified, and Makoto is poked by this thing and blows up, and the dog is melted, resulting in the 2 of them combining. And now Makoto, in a fusion of his best friend and dog, must wander and survive in this hellscape. Yes. Fuck yes. While I do think the story could benefit from an upgrade in art, the creativity and brutality behind it all is amazing. And the design of this thing, whatever it is, I want it, I need it. 2 months ago, a pregnant wife killed her husband. Then 1 month ago, a husband killed his pregnant wife. After that, a string of similar cases dropped. They all seem to have happened to married couples with pregnancies who lived in Sakuma City. The main character checks on his pregnant wife's belly, and a voice speaks, and it turns out to be a demon possessing the bodies of pregnant women. And so now the wife runs around killing people, leaving her husband with no other choice. The art for this is solid, with a brutal horror premise that makes things personal immediately for the main character. Disturbingly captivating premise and a strong hook. Nice start for a horror manga. A teenage boy that has issues behaving at school finds out that he is the son of a yokai. His mother just tells him, and then she is immediately hit by a truck. He is then recruited by 2 strange people and is told that it was the work of a Makurageshi, beings that flip over people's pillows and cause them misfortune. The way to defeat them? Steal their balls. Well, ball. The humor in this was pretty solid, and the characters personality-wise were fun. Admittedly, this feels like a mishmash of titles I've seen before. On top of that, it doesn't really have a unique, distinguishable premise for me to separate it from the other things I read, which early on matters because things are still being introduced. But I can see a lot of people liking this regardless. There was once a great mage. She controlled the magic of all things, and her magical power was inexhaustible. She was an almighty mage. She was revered as the greatest master the world of magic had ever produced. But then 200 years ago, she suddenly disappeared from the spotlight. An elf is seen in the mountains choosing to manually cook a unicorn rabbit instead of using magic to the surprise of her apprentice. The student reveals she is now teaching at an elite school and wants her former master to join her. The elf says that will be difficult and to check her magical power. There is none. The elf that was once known as Mighty has no power. Completely happy that way. This has a clean and professional art style, and when I read this, I somehow missed the title, so the reveal was a pretty cool twist. Still, I see this being a fun and interesting series. Two friends kiss, and years later they are now somewhat distant, but are still friends. One of them is in a relationship, but it becomes very clear to the girlfriend that her man is not her man, setting up a romance between these two where we will have to see how it grows, lest this ends up being a tragedy. I really enjoyed how this felt like a serious romance with actual characters that will have to deal with their flaws instead of just tropes. I would have preferred if one of the reveals that happens in the first chapter to have been built up to more, but solid first chapter, and I can see this growing into a powerfully emotional story. A girl goes to visit her great-grandmother, but instead encounters a young woman in a wheelchair, and then immediately after encounters horrors beyond her comprehension. She then learns that her great-grandmother will be dying in 1 year's time. And after she dies, all those spirits will need someone to take care of them. I have no clue where this is going to go, and that's a nice feeling when reading a series for the first time. I'm a big fan of the art style and the horror setting of the story. Looking forward to seeing what else the author can do to show off the unique designs in mind while adding more tension to the story. An undead spirit of vengeance is reborn and finds himself in the future. He then encounters a female android who explains her current condition and how she wished she had a soul. This has a 3D art style to it and an odd pairing with some decent comedy. I can see these two opposites balancing each other out and presenting some cool moments of humanity, but I wonder how it will keep me interested after 10 chapters. In the early 22nd century, a super ice age hit the Earth, and after 5,000 years, the Anthropocene came to an abrupt end. The survivors fought a bloody war. The winners built a utopia in the few habitable areas that remained, while the losers sank into the ocean and there transformed. Franz and his lover Sandy are having a child, but it's revealed Franz is working with the enemy that has been plotting their revenge to take back the land. There is an insane amount of things that happen, leaving the chapter off in a cliffhanger. I really like the premise of this, although I do think the art could be better. I also did feel like this had so much information that it's closer to a one-shot that is incomplete than a first chapter. It would have benefited a lot by pacing itself better and perhaps ending at the reveal that Franz was one of the underwater creatures. It's interesting, but suffers from introducing too much at once for me. A romance between a vampire and a hitman. That's pretty much it. Very self-explanatory. I can see this easily becoming popular, especially given an anime adaptation one day. But like most romance series, it does risk being stale and milked instead of actually growing the characters and focusing on making a good story. Still, I'm hoping that the strange situation between the two can lead to something meaningful on top of being the typical lighthearted romance manga. At first, I was a bit confused because I thought this series had already been a thing. In fact, it did have a 4-volume story that was completed. So this is the first chapter for the sequel, as I was told. A story that follows the main character dealing with their identity while trying to make it in the world of fashion. Reviews of the original series seem to be very positive, although I have not read it for myself. As for this first chapter, it didn't hook me as much compared to a lot of the other stories mentioned so far, but I think there is a different approach when debuting a series versus going for a sequel. The Earth is dead. That happened more than 300 years ago. Humans escaped to the moon and Mars and built colonies, but no matter where we go, it's the same. Everyone fights for survival. The vastness of space creates loneliness, and the infinite darkness only instills fear. We continue to wander through this barren wasteland of the universe. There is no such thing as justice. Here, power is everything. As you could already tell, this story also takes place in space. Sorry, I have to do that every time. This story follows two characters, one that is an original Earthling being interrogated, and another that is hell-bent on murdering someone. Overall, the art is solid and helps the gritty tone. More importantly, the story did a good job of setting me into this universe and getting me interested in the growth and outcome of two characters. On a rescue mission to find a professor and bring her back, a team of special individuals in a futuristic setting end up encountering something far beyond their expectations. What seemed like a robo-dog seems to be more like the symbiote version of the T-1000. now leaving us wondering what this metal is and what will happen next. The main character Daniel seems pretty cool, and the need of him to use this drug to be in battle creates a natural tension. But this is another series that could have benefited a lot from an improved art style, since there are some creative things here. It took a bit also to hook me, and when it finally did, I didn't feel the most invested because I have no attachment to any of these characters or a mystery that hooked me. Still, solid ideas that fleshed out could turn into gold. This is a romance manga about a girl that finds herself not attracted to boys, but to stuffed animals. That's pretty much it. Gerald, a young man raised by a priest, desires to become a knight, but the priest sees the conflict as something not worth being involved in. The priest is then visited by a man crying for forgiveness as he has killed a soldier, which leads those men to that town, and they lay waste, killing the priest. Now, Gerald wishes to free the world from the curse of God, hence the name of the series. I'm super interested in this one. The art is clean and professional, with an easy-to-digest plot in the first chapter, with lots of potential. So there are all the series. Now how can you vote? You'll be able to vote through Twitter and a special site as follows. On Twitter, each like and repost counts as one vote. Votes are valid across all down-thread posts related to the target work. On the special website, you can vote once per day. You can vote for the same work every day, or for different works on different days. Both are allowed. Also, you don't have to choose between the methods. You can do Twitter and the special website. Now, as for the 5 I plan on voting for, it would have to be GOUMA, Into the Dark, The Night of Blasphemy, The Last Terrain, and lastly, The Journey of a Dark Elf with Fading Powers. But make sure to read these and vote for the 5 you want. The results will be posted at a later date, and thank you once again to Kodansha and Young Magazine for this amazing opportunity.